she's the first female Flutter GDE, and today we are honored to have her. She'll be talking about Flutter Lint rules actually. And then I think she's in the call, so I think I've been keeping her on wait for quite some time, but I think it's the right time to start. So hopefully, thank you guys for joining today's meeting, and I hope you grasp a lot from it. So as we start, I would like to ask Maureen, if you are ready and you're ready to share. Let me stop my screen. Aha, stop. And then so you can share and then unmute yourselves and tell more about you. We start. Over to you, Maureen. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Eric. For the intro, thank you, Candy, and thank you everyone for joining. My name is Maureen. I'm a software engineer. Currently, okay, this is my first time being into Flutter, like professionally, like writing production ready Flutter code. Because initially I was just doing that for my personal projects and for my freelance projects. So I'm so honored to join you today and looking forward to discuss with you what's your views on regarding Lint rules, have you interacted with them and so on. So I'm going to share my screen in a minute.
Hey, Maureen, are you still there? Candy, can you hear me?
She wants to share her screen.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, so let me just minimize this. Okay, yeah, so my name is Maureen, just feel a software engineer as everyone else has mentioned, and at j_akelo is my Twitter handle. So today I'm going to take you through how to set Lint rules in that Flutter. And as both Eric and Kendi have mentioned, I'm so honored to be recognized as the first female GDE in Sub-Saharan Africa and the first in Kenya. I take that as a honor, not that I'm an expert or there are no experts. It's only that I have that expert tag on me. However, within the ecosystem, in the community, there are so many experts already. So happy to learn from you as well. Sorry. Okay, so if you've been to my other talks, this picture might be familiar. I like to use it a lot. So this is me back then last year. Not me, however, today. So I'm a tech communities lover. By tech communities lover, I mean I like being involved in the community. Right now, I'm the lead organizer for Flutter Kisumu events. We also hold monthly meetups, mostly geared towards knowledge sharing and things like that regarding Flutter and its associated technologies. I'm a WTM ambassador. So the WTM is the Women Tech Makers program, Google program that allows women to coordinate and learn together so that they can uplift each other, thriving in the tech world, and also showing other upcoming women in tech ways on how they can get started and links to opportunities and resources. So it's mostly also like more of a community as well. I'm a Flutter enthusiast. I started learning Flutter in 2018, towards the end of 2018. So that's the first time I interacted with Flutter, and I'm so honored today because the first Flutter event I ever attended was being hosted by Kendi and Dennis Hyungu, the one that was at BDG Nairobi. So I'm so honored to get an introduction of what Flutter was during that event and learn from them, and also got an opportunity to meet other people. So community contributed a lot to my interest, developing interest in Flutter, and from then I didn't lose the interest, kept learning and learning. So professionally, I'm a software engineer. I'm both. I do both backend and mobile. So for backend, I write code using Java, Spring Java. Then for mobile, I primarily use Flutter, and it's been an honor because I really wanted to write production code ready Flutter code. However, I was only doing that as part-time role and in my freelance projects and things like that, my side projects. And I'm so honored to get now an opportunity to write Flutter production code. So currently, I'm the lead Flutter mobile engineer at Uptime, developing the Uptime mobile. So Uptime is a company that mostly does monitoring of sites, the downtime and uptime of sites, checking sites vulnerability against hackers and things like that. So I'm very much honored to experiment that coming from the health tech side of things. And you can reach me on Twitter via at j_akelo. So today I'm going to share with you my insights on setting lint rules in Flutter. So this is something I started learning in 2019. That's the lint rules, because where I was interning, we were writing Flutter code, but there were those strict rules that we needed to enforce. And being that I was still learning Flutter then, I started learning, okay, we are using these lint rules. We were using the Elixir programming language. So I was like, why can't I try to experiment whatever we are doing in Elixir in Flutter? So that's why I got interested in knowing how can we set lint rules in Flutter, and how does it really work. So today I'll be honored to get your views on what you feel about lint rules and if you set them before. So today's agenda, I'm going to show you, to share with you what's linting for people who don't know, some of the common programming errors, and implementing lint rules in Flutter, then a sample code demo. Then we'll go through QA. But before then, I'm so much interested in knowing if is there anyone new to Flutter, or this is your first time interacting with Flutter, because this session assumes that you have basic knowledge of Flutter. But if you're new to Flutter, don't give up, or rather don't lose hope, because you're still going to learn a lot. But before then, I'd love Eric, maybe share with us, tell us what's Flutter generally for anyone who might be new to Flutter or joining this call for the first time.
Candy, pardon the question. I didn't hear you quite well.
Oh yeah, so I'm asking, would you please tell us what's Flutter for anyone who might be new to Flutter in the call?
Oh, awesome, cool. So, Flutter started as a mobile cross-platform framework, basically supporting iOS and Android. The objective behind Flutter was to write one code base to support multiple platforms, which was Android and iOS. But later with time, it has evolved to support web, even desktop as well. And by desktop, I mean both for macOS, for Windows, and for Linux as well. So even for years it will be released, it will also be supported. So Flutter basically comes in for those who have tried to work with React Native, Ionic, and Cordova. So it kind of works the same way, but Flutter compiles natively. So okay, I could say, okay, not just because I use Flutter, but because it's the go-to if you want to do cross-platform. I've seen Kotlin are trying to come up with the same through the KMM, but let's say if you choose the right tool for the job, I'll go for Flutter, depending on what I'm doing. But that's all I could say about Flutter. It will allow you to write one code base for different platforms. So yeah, for those that don't know about Flutter, those that are beginning, that's just the brief view description about Flutter. Back to you, Maureen.
All right, thank you so much, Eric, for the wonderful description of what Flutter is. Just to add to what you said, so the programming language, the primary programming language that's used to write Flutter code is Dart. So that programming is the language that we use to write Flutter applications. And in setting these lint rules, we set them in the language that we use to write Flutter. So we set these lint rules in that. So if you've ever worked in a company that mostly you are rushing towards completing features faster. I mean, when you have strict deadlines that you have to complete this feature by next week and things like that. So in some companies, you find that they don't really care how you write your code. If you don't use, if you use any format, if you use the correct format or you don't use it, is up to you, provided you finish completing the feature in time so that you make the customer happy. So you find that when you compare the velocity against time of writing good code against writing crappy code, you find that when you continue writing crappy code in the name of finishing a feature before a strict deadline, you'll end up having issues, especially when your application now gets to production and customers start complaining. So that's why you need to have lint rules set so that you don't get caught up with deadlines at the same time write good quality code, because when you keep writing like crappy code in the name of finishing deadline early or quick without considering what repercussions it might have in future, then you might end up inconveniencing customers. And one thing I've learned is that your applications, especially if you have a B2C application that's developing applications that's geared towards business to customer, you might end up having issues if your customers are not happy because they won't use your software or your application. So that's why it's good to set these rules that will help counter any issues that might come in future, especially, for example, if you're working in a code and in a project, in a group project, and when a newcomer comes in and they start navigating through your code and they somehow don't understand what you are doing because there is no any strict rule that you guys set, it can become very messy. So that's why it's good to have these rules set. So if you're wondering now what's really LinkedIn, like why should you consider having lint rules and why should you even set them in the first place? So in your day-to-day coding, not only Flutter, even other programming languages, you might have encountered maybe you imported a package or maybe wrote a variable and you didn't use it. You'll find that most of the time it's always underlined in some scribble depending on your IDE, green, red, blue, whatever. So that underlying scribble usually reminds you that there's something wrong that you're trying to do that you're not supposed to do. Oh, sorry, I saw someone raise his hand. Do you have a question or what's up? Hussein or something?
Hassan, you can unmute and ask a question if you have one, kindly. Maureen, you can proceed.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, I saw like he raised his hand, so I thought he had a question. So now, what's really linting, and why should you consider setting these lint rules? So linting is the process of checking the source code for programmatic as well as stylistic errors and unformatted code. So this helps your team curb those inconsistencies. Oh, sorry, in writing your code, especially if you don't have this stylistic rules set. It can be so weird if you imagine you're joining a new team and they don't have any particular structure in writing code. All the folders are jumbled up and are mixed up. So it can really take a lot of time for your onboarding process and even understanding what really is going on there. So that's why it's good to have these rules and set the lint rules to check your source code for any programmatic or stylistic errors. So these are some of the types of errors that we have: the syntax errors that you might have faced in your day-to-day development, the runtime errors, the linker error, the logical error, and the semantic errors. So these errors comes about when you don't do anything right. So one that I'm sure that most of you have interacted with is the syntax error. If you write code in a weird syntax that you are not supposed to write it in, you'll get that syntax error and your code won't compile. So when you have this lint rules set, you'll be able to curb such of such kind of errors, so that you're not supposed to maybe merge your code before anything is checked well. So how do we really set lint rules in that? Before this, I'd love to know if anyone has ever set lint rules in that. Maybe Candy, have you ever set lint rules in that?
Well, not the code that I did myself, but where I'm working, I find that we have some certain rules that we have to follow. Like you're not allowed to write strings on the same, I don't know how to put this, but there is a way that you have your strings put in a different place and then you have to import them. You get, and also the stylings and stuff.
Nice. That's amazing. Anyone else? Barak, Sam Baraka, have you ever set lint rules in that, and what's your experience?
Yes, I've set lint rules in Flutter, that, and the experience has been okay, has been great. I think the consistency in how the code looks like, yeah, it's great, it's great, it's great. The experience is great.
All right, so that's great to know. So if you don't set these lint rules, there are, especially in Flutter or any other language, because there's no limitation to what language you can set lint rules at. You can set lint rules in Java, you can set lint rules in JavaScript, in basically in any programming language. So how do we really set them in that? So in that, when you check this page, I'll share the link to this page. There are some lint rules that the Dart team have already compiled that you can customize as a team. So if you don't want to customize these rules, you can use the default ones that the default ones that have already been set by the Dart and the Google team. But if your team, especially if you're working in a project that you want specific rules to be followed, let's say maybe avoiding the writing print in production code, so that anyone who is new can clearly see what rules they have set. So if you want those kinds of personal or rather customized rules, you can set your own. And to find them, you'll always find them here. There's a long list of lint rules that you can set, and they're always categorized into the errors. Mostly for the errors are any errors that you encounter during writing code and that you'd like your team to curb in advance. Then there's the style.
Hello, Maureen. Excuse.
Uh-huh.
Are you using a mic? I'm having someone complaining about the voice quality.
Oh,
Some reverb.
how about now?
I think it's clear. Hassan, you can confirm from my end as well. Cool. Proceed now. We can proceed, Maureen. I can hear you.
All right. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So these are some of the rules that we already have, the errors and the style guide rules, mostly about the style, that guide style that you want to experience as a team. Then there are the pub related rules. These ones are for the packages and everything like that. So if you want to customize these rules, you can find like a list of all of these compiled rules by the Dutch team here in this page for lint rules. So I'll share with you this link so that you can check them later. But I will as well. Oh, sorry. I will as well show you how to set them in Flutter. So wait. So what I noticed before when I started setting these lint rules in 2019, when you are creating your first project, this analysis underscore options.yaml file was never being automatically generated. So this is a great improvement from that team, because right now, if you create a new Flutter project, or if you've even experienced it, when you create a new Flutter project, it automatically generates this analysis underscore options.yaml file. So if you don't want to make your own rules, you can use what you have as it is without like customizing or adding any other rule to your analysis underscore options.yaml file. But in the old projects, let's say if you created a Flutter project before they used to automatically generate this file, you'll have to create this file. And I'm going to show you how it looks like and how you can modify it. So if you want to use the default lint rules, after creating your first project, Flutter project, in the sense that when you're creating a new Flutter project, this file is going to be automatically generated. And if you want to add that lint rules to your project, that means using their existing rules, you're going to check out this package. I'll share this link later so that you can get everything once. But that lint rules package already has some specified rules that you can use already in your project without customizing or using any other thing. So to use it, you're just going to use the normal way of adding a package to a Flutter project, like adding this the lint package to your list of dependencies. Then you run the Flutter analyze to run the package, and everything will work as expected. But this is only using the existing rules that have already been set by the DAT team. Now, how about when you are a team and you want like specific rules to work for you as a team, in the sense that there are some people who don't like, they usually prefer setting this rule of limiting your code to 80 characters in such a way that you can't write more than 80 characters in one line, in one line. So if you want such a rule, so how are you going to customize it? So this is where now customizing these lint rules come in. So in the analysis underscore options file, there's this structure that it has, and having in mind that it's a YAML file, and YAML file is usually case sensitive. So you have to be keen on how to add these rules. So in an existing old Flutter project, you'll have to add the linter after creating the analysis underscore options file. Now you add the linter, then below it, add the rules. Then below the rules is where now you start adding the rules. So I'm going to show you all this, but in a new Flutter project, when you create a new Flutter project right now, it's going to have this already, so you won't have to add them afresh. So here are some of the links that you can check out, especially effective that's guide style. It will guide you in knowing what to set right and what not, or rather what they recommend and what they don't, so that it guides you as a team in everything. So I'm going to open this one. I'll have to reshare my screen so that you see everything, unless you are already seeing the screen. Are you seeing this other screen on effective that style?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so when you check the effective that guide style, there are some of the rules that they recommend, or rather they prefer you have, especially for this one. For example, the upper camel case in the naming, it prefers like capitalizing the first letter of each word, including the first, just basically using the camel case. And they show you like examples of which ones is good, especially in naming your classes. So for example, in the first one where they said the slider menu, they recommend the upper camel case in that. So for the slider, you write the first name in capital, then the menu also start it with capital. So it kind of tells you what's good, what they recommend as good, and what they prefer, rather than just writing anything. So this will guide you as a team on what rules to effectively use and which ones to avoid. And the rest of other rules, yeah, the rest of other rules are also here, especially for the analysis options, which describes more of which describes more of those analysis rules that you can customize or rather add to your project. So I'm going to show you a sample code that I have, because due to time I didn't want to make like a big project, but I wanted to make something small so that everyone else can really understand how to make these lint rules in your Flutter project. So I'm going to show you how to really do it. So let me share my desktop. Okay, so this is like a basic of the basics Flutter app. It only has like a center, a title, a text on the center. So it doesn't have much, but it's going to help you know how to set these rules. So as I was saying, if you create a new Flutter project right now, this analysis underscore options.yaml file is automatically generated, so you won't have to create it afresh. And when you have it, so all of these are recommended. It comes generated this way, and this from line 10, where we have this include Flutter lints package. So this one is a list of recommended lint rules by the Flutter team, by the Google Flutter team, that they have already compiled in this package. So when they use this include, this is also going to guide your project. And if you want now to set other rules specific to your team project or specific to your project, now you can add them below here, like specific rules that you want as a team. So the structure is, you won't write this linter because it will come generated already. So the first, after the include package, the first thing is the linter, then the second now is the rules. So under the rules is where now you can customize or categorize the rules the way you want them to appear. So as I mentioned, there are the style guide rules, the error rules, the formatting rules, and everything. So in your team project, if you want to customize these rules to your own liking, you can just add these rules here. And if you're asking yourself now, okay, it's good to add these rules, but where will you find them? So all of these rules are located in the .lint rules. So I'm just going to show you again where they are so that you can get them. So here are all the rules that you can add to your project, and adding them is very simple. You just copy, you see, for example, the one for avoid print, which means avoid print calls in production code. So when you click on it, it tells you what to do and what's bad. So avoid print calls in production code. So having your code, having the print calls in production code is not good. And as this is something that they recommend. So to add it to your project, you just copy this avoid print rule, then add it to your project. I think I had already added. No, I don't have it. So to add it, you just copy it, then add it there. Then when you save it, because this is not production code, so it's not going to check this really. But in your production code, you can make this check. So when you see this list of rules, so these are some of the rules that you can add already to your project. So the camel case types, avoid catches without on clauses, avoid catching errors and things like that. So to get this list of rules that you can add to your project, you can find them in the Linta rules. So how can you really experiment that, okay, I've added these rules and is it really working? So I want to show you one that you can easily check. Being that this is a simple project. So there's this rule that I set of avoid lines longer than 80 characters. So if you want to see these specific rules, I had already added it already, but in your new project, if you want to get it, you just come view all rules. Yeah, you just come here. I think I have it somewhere. It's more on the formatting side of things. So let me just look through it. No, I can't see it. I can't really see it like right now quickly. But when you check these rules, it's somewhere there. So to copy any rule, as I mentioned, you just click on it, then copy what you have in the first line, then you add it. So as I wanted to show you this one of lines longer than 80 characters that I had already set to check it. So this is the Flutter, the basic Flutter project, which is this one. So you can see, let me put this way. So this is the basic app that we have. It's the Flutter demo as the title, and it has its home as a scaffold, whose app bar has the title of set lint rules that you can see there. Then the body of this scaffold is centered, that has this text
of let's set the rules. Now, I want us to experiment the rule that I set in the analysis or underscore options.yaml file of avoiding lines longer than 80 characters. So some people don't like this, especially in large projects where you're working very many people. So you can curb this by setting this rule and how to experiment it. So for example, let me just add more text to this one so that it becomes longer than 80 characters. So I'm just writing this so that you can see an example of where that rule, or rather how to test if your rules are really working. So as you can see, the more I write these extra characters, the more this blue squiggle is coming up. So this is what I mentioned earlier. So when you set any lint rule and you go against it, it will underline it and kind of warn you that you set this rule and you're going to violate it. So when you click here, I added more text to this just to experiment the rule of avoiding lines longer than 80 characters. So when you come here and navigate around it, you see it says avoid lines longer than 80 characters. And this is the rule that we set here. And so, okay, yeah. So to fix it, there's always a quick fix option on what you can do. So when you click it, you can either ignore the rule that you set or just remove it. But what's usually recommended is that if you set this rule for a team project, which you don't want this rule to be violated, then it's not good to ignore this unless you agreed as a team that, hey, we set these rules of avoiding lines longer than 80 characters, and now let's just do without it. So you can add ignore, you can comment ignore here, or just simply remove that rule from your analysis options file. So when you, let me say, when you Control Z now, because now the lines are lesser than 80 characters a row, so we don't face that problem. So how can you really use this in your pipeline? So after setting these lint rules, you can add a check to your maybe CI/CD pipeline. I mean the continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline that you can't merge your work if there are some, and if the lint rules didn't pass. So that's something you can do as at a personal level in your team or in anything. But adding these rules, you can add as many rules as possible to your project. And the good thing about this is that every rule has like a good and bad example. Like the data team is trying to tell you an explanation of what you should do and why you should avoid it. So for example, for this one of unnecessary await and return, so it explained to you that avoid returning an awaited expression when the expression type is unassignable to the function's return type. So this is a bad example that they've given here. So when you compare this to this, you kind of see the difference and the need of why should you really avoid this and why should you use this. And they try to give you recommendation of how well you can do it. And to get other rules, as I mentioned, you simply get them here, all of them. Any rule that you want as a team or you want to customize for yourself in your personal project to kind of just guide you. Also, another thing to mention is that if you want to set these rules, it's good to set them at the initial stages of a project, because when you set them maybe later on after starting a project, it can become very difficult trying to resolve all of these lint errors, because maybe now your pipeline is failing and you can't merge anything. So that's all I had for you today, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. So if any one of you have a question, kindly you could raise your hand, then we go systematically. So I'm gonna, and then unmute yourselves to ask any question that you have. So if you have any question, yeah, feel free to ask.
Hi, Maureen. I have a rather weird question. Can you write test on lint rules, or these are rules you don't test them?
Not really. I don't think it's okay. I've never seen people write tests for your lint rules. You can't test the analysis options file, but what you can rather do is write a unit test to check if whatever you wrote, or rather the rule you wrote, has been met within your unit test or even integration tests. But testing the analysis options.yaml file specifically, I don't think you can really test them. It's like writing a test for pubspec.yaml file. But for the specific rules that you had already set, you can always write the test to check, okay, I wrote this rule to say avoid avoid print calls in production test. So you can write that test to check if this, or rather if something else is being violated or something.
Okay.
Yes,
Cool. Thanks.
yes, that week.
So mine is just a comment. First of all, I had my own, but Candy, when you don't really need to write a test to test your lint rules, but you can, if you run Flutter analyze just in your editor, it will in your terminal, it will look at the linting rules and tell you if you've gone against any of the linting rules. So I don't have questions really, but mine is just a comment. So I saw that you're using in your presentation Lint, the package Lint. According to Flutter's documentation, Lint is just like general rules for that. So what I would advise, don't use Lint if you're going to use Flutter Lint. Flutter Lint is the one that comes nowadays with the new initial project. So if you're using Flutter Lints, it contains some of the rules that are already in Lint. So you can only use. I'd advise you use just Flutter Lints because it has very Flutter specific. No, Lint has that specific, but Flutter Lints has like Flutter specific for writing Flutter code. And also finally, I think you in your presentation, maybe you may amend it, just a note to the speaker. You may amend it so that after importing the package, you have to include the include line was missing in your presentation. So if you import the package, make sure you have that line include in your analysis options. Otherwise, the rules won't apply if they're not in the analysis options. So don't just put the package and think that it will start working immediately. So I think those are my comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So I forgot to mention that because I didn't add it in the slides, because having in mind that we know how to add this, but don't assume if you have, after adding the package, you'll have to import it as well. So yeah, that was not clear enough in the slides of adding the steps, but I've pictured this in my blog of setting lint rules, which I have updated. So I'll share with you the link to it as well, especially if you want to set them in your project or add them in your project just to experiment everything. Thank you for that, Danvik. Any other input or suggestion?
Danvik, your hand is still risen. Do you still have a question?
Really, no, I didn't put it down. Thank you.
All right, cool. I don't see more questions. However, I would like you, Maureen, to share the link to your article because I find it very informative. I've actually interacted with it a bit. So anyone who would want to learn more and, dig deeper would have something to check it out from your article.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I wrote the article in 2019 and I realized a lot of things have changed. So I've actually written an update of it, but I'll share with you the link to it. So once I updated it, you'll just get the link to the article as well, because when I wrote it, the analysis options .yaml file was never being generated automatically, and the Google team was still using the pedantic rules. So those are some of the changes. But in the updated blog, it's already there. So let me just share with you. That's the link to the article, and when I update it, you're going to see all the changes, especially on how to do this step by step, because the presentation slides can't really capture everything step by step, but in the blog, I've highlighted everything step by step.
All right, cool. Thank you. We have a question from Kevin. He's asking, what's the difference between Linta and code formatter?
Oh yeah, thank you for the question. So as I mentioned, so Linta checks your source code for any programmatic errors, stylistic errors, and any errors generally that you can set in any programming language, be it Java, JavaScript, or anything. But in my view, I feel like code formatter generally formats your code to manually format your code to a given format that you want it. So it's kind of almost similar, but I'd love to hear what's your view, or rather any person's view, on the difference between a linter and a code formatter.
Maybe Danvik can chip in on that.
Okay, so I think I agree with what Maureen has said. So linting is just checking that basically all the rules that you put in place to make your code conform to some standard actually does conform to that standard, but formatting is just making it look nice. So though like both of them are advisable, but I think linting rules, they are more, take it as a formatter is like a loose rule that you may choose to follow or not. But if you put linting rules, you just have to follow them, and they are actually they are stricter. But formatting, you can format or not format. So I think that is that for me.
All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Though you can still add some like the line that Maureen was talking about, the 80 characters one. It's all about formatting and how your code looks, but you can still put it as a linting rule so that all your code conforms to that. By default, that is what it's there, but some people want to ignore it maybe, but yeah, just that.
Okay, Danvik, thank you for your input on that. If we don't have more questions, maybe we can end our session now. And I would like to thank you all for attending our event and gracing it, and also asking questions and chipping in. Also, if you'd like to speak at Flutter Kenya, you can either reach out to me or me or Eric or Sam or Danvik. via Twitter or anywhere. And also, if you have any question, always feel free to reach out, or you can also drop a question on the Meetup group. We always check them out and answer you. We are really grateful to you, Maureen. Thank you for honoring our invite to speak and giving us an in-depth about linting. Actually, I didn't know quite much about it, but I only knew it was about setting rules and stuff. But thank you so much for breaking it down to us and teaching us about linting. I think it's a really good thing for us to adopt as developers. And we're really looking forward to learning more from you as a GDE and also as a community member. Thank you to our amazing organizers for making this happen and organizing yourself and bringing this event into action. Also, we are also grateful for all our participants. Thank you for always joining our event and learning, and we're looking forward to having new faces and learning a lot from you as well. I would like to end the session now, and I wish you guys a really amazing weekend. Go enjoy yourself, perambulate as you can, and yeah, see you soon. Bye guys.
Sorry, I have one update. So Flutter Kisumu, we also have an event of Flutter testing that's starting right from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So feel free to join. Thank you.
Maybe Maureen, you can share the link to that on the chat.
Wow, just a minute.
Okay.
Oh, now that you've mentioned another event, I'm also going to speak at GDG Ghana. It's going to be at around 8:30. I'll be talking about shared preferences. So whenever you're free, feel free to join. Thank you, guys.
To add on what Kendi has said, so to catch all our previous sessions that you have had before, I've sent a link of our YouTube channel. Feel free to go there and watch. This one will be uploaded by today. So if you kind of missed anything, or anyone who wanted to attend but they couldn't, you can share the link as well. So otherwise, if you still want to be a speaker, I've already shared the Google form as well. So we'd love to hear a lot or what you have, guys. So that's all from me, and thank you. See you next time.